Hey everyone, welcome back to the PK podcast, where that PK stands for Preacher's Kid, Not Perfect Kid. And good thing, because my co-host is one of the most imperfect people that I know. Eli Blevins, we're definitely not wearing the same clothes that we wore on the previous episode, because this has been an entire week since we recorded the last one. This is just our Monday clothes right here.
Yeah.
And
Technically, this is my church shirt. So I wear this all the time. So
bro,
I probably 4 or 5 times a week.
fresh branding for the Life Church of Wilmington on a fresh new building.
Dude, come on. Come join us
That's
in
a
Wilmington.
We have an incredible guest with us today. I'm really, really excited about today's episode. He's the son of the Patriot Church Network lead pastor, and also the pioneer of the Church at Planned Parenthood, or TCAP. I love this guy so much, and just a visionary and incredible leader. And then I got to speak at a conference with him just like a month ago, and I met his oldest son, who was like the hidden gem of the Peters family. I understand why they didn't really talk about him much, because he just showed everybody else up. He was so stinking awesome, an amazing musician. He plays every single freaking instrument, and he does it well. He's a sharp dude. I mean, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're already seeing I mean, I don't know how he's been single this long, but his name is Micah Peters, and we're super excited to welcome him to the show. Bro, thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Bro, we love your family. We love your church, your ministry, all the stuff that the Peters fam represents. But the reason you're on the show isn't really because of who your dad or mom is. It's because you're awesome, and we appreciate you. And every PK's journey is a little bit different. And I know that yours has been especially unique, given all that your family has done and the relocation. So what has your journey as a PK been like? How would you describe it? What is it like to be a part of the Peters family?
Well, as a whole, to summarize it all, I love it. I absolutely love it. A lot of people ask me, what's it like being a pastor's kid? And I'm like, I get to be at the church all the time. Like David said, I get to dwell in the house of the Lord, literally, pretty much every day during the week, my entire life.
Come
I've
on.
always had good employment, I guess, working with Christian schools, getting to travel the world, go to other churches when my dad gets invited, and get to see other ministries, get to see different denominations too, different ways that people worship God, and kind of create this big balance of my personal relationship with Jesus. I think my dad did it right, and so my experience, I would 10 out of 10 recommend to anybody. I've loved life.
I feel that. I feel that deeply. We love talking about we have several P's that we go through. We got the perks, we got the pains, and we got the problems of being a PK. Where are some of those fun perks that you get to be a part of? Because when you get to travel around and do stuff, surely you got some you get to meet people and see the coolest places in the world. Where are some of your favorite perks you get?
Yeah. I mean, green room snacks for one. I hope other pastors' kids out there get some of those. Even at my own church or going to other churches that my dad gets invited to, those things are fire. Um, Honestly, meeting people that okay, so there's your typical church people, people who are members at a church might somebody like Greg Locke, Pastor Greg Locke, he is very, very wanting to talk to the everyday person. He makes himself available, which is awesome. But even still, I can call him right now just because he's friends with my dad. And I don't really have a relationship with Pastor Greg Locke, but I could call him right now and he would answer because I'm Pastor Ken's son.
Yep.
And that's cool, just having access to really good spiritual leaders who have amazing advice that I've gotten to use just through connections. I get to go out to eat with a lot of special speakers who come to our church, or if my dad gets to go out to eat, I usually get to come with him at other
Hey, and
churches.
those meals are
And
usually bomb.
oh yeah, and I get this quality time with very awesome spiritual leaders that a typical person like me, if I was just a random kid, there's no way at age 15, 16, 17 I'd be able to be hanging out, just getting to listen and to how awesome preachers communicate to each other and get advice from them and stuff like that. Big perks.
It's nothing to scoff at either, because I believe that, like, and you can go real spiritual with this, but you put enough deposits into your life from like these pastors, speakers, leaders, whoever it is. One day you're 30 years old and you're look back and you're like, for the past 15 years, I've been surrounded by influence and surrounded by great leaders. No wonder I'm a great leader now. It's because my dad got me into this when I was 14 or 15. It's just like having a savings account. Like, thankfully I got one when I was 14 or 15. And now I'm 30. I'm going, this is great that I had a savings account then, because I need it. And so when you're able to have like these spiritual things over and over and over, and it may just be going to ice cream with somebody or at lunch with somebody, because they're a cool preacher coming in or whatever, but it's when you stack that on top of the rest of your life, man, no wonder you're going to succeed so much more and better. And so if your pastor's kid out there listening, go to those lunches, if you can, go to the office and hang out with your dad or wherever they're doing it. Just glean from that. It matters.
I was about to say, it's one of the most overlooked and underhyped parts of being a PK, those meals with the guests. And meals with church members that your dad is having too, by the way. Like, getting to sit in and audit those conversations is like college level courses in leadership and theology, especially when, like, your parent and the guest may have an area where they're different, but like they're friends. And so they're kind of going back and forth. I have learned so much more like at Dairy Queen than I did in some seminary classes, just listening to the conversations. It's absolutely the greatest. Micah, your family has so many connections, and your ministry borders are so massive, like just eclectic and awesome. But I've known you since you lived in Washington State. So you moved from Washington State to Tennessee. You have served in Hawaii and other countries that you're heading to. So first question is, like, where does Jesus actually live? Some people say the islands, some people say the South. Inquiring minds want to know, like, where is actually the most godly region of the country?
The godly region of the country. Okay, so you said country. So you're talking about America, or are you talking about the world?
Maybe we'll just open it up to the world.
Yeah, well, I mean, Jesus is everywhere. Jesus is right here. You can go pray right now, and he's there as close as ever. But if you want to talk about a culture that is on fire for God, like outwardly and doesn't care, um, I've only been to two like non-North American countries so far. Um, but man, when I was in Nepal, like, you go to a place that's reached, because it's illegal to convert people, but it's not illegal to be a Christian there. And when we're there, they literally have church all day. Like, church is just, you come to church and you're just there. You're learning. People get up, people are praying, they sing another song, prayer time. People are just on their knees crying out to God, repenting. This is like a weekly thing. It's crazy. It feels like a revival service, but it's just like, because I got to spend 3 months there, and every time we're at church, it's like that. Every time at church, it's like people at the altar for hours, like just pouring out their hearts to God, praying for each other. That camaraderie, it looks a lot different. And I loved being in that environment. It's just reckless. It's like Jesus is so much to them because they're not used to it. So when they like find him and they actually see what it's like with him, then they're like, wow, this is the best thing ever. Why not? Like, I want to be at church every day as much as possible. I want to learn as much as I can. So yeah, it's really inspiring to be out there.
Bro, that's the reason why I asked this question, because I had heard you get on fire talking about where you're headed in the future. And of course, your dad had shared some of your stories with me. And some people genuinely do believe that, like, Jesus lives in the Bible Belt. Or like, oh man, I mean, I think they're confused, but some of the people that live in the Northwest really think that they're like closer to heaven or something. I'm not sure. But you've got to experience ministry in various cultural contexts, different cultures in the US, but also different cultures around the world. And I'm wondering, from your perspective, having grown up in ministry, so you've got an edge. what is it that like the American church really needs now, maybe more than ever?
Mm. Okay. It's reading God's word with a new perspective. That's what I would say.
That's good.
Without all the I'm used to this. I've grown up in this. This is just what we do. Like a lot of church routine. Like you just do things because it's how you've always done it, and since you're used to it, it doesn't mean as much. It can, but it just naturally doesn't because you're so used to it. Whereas people who have never experienced this, one of my heroes in the faith is Keith Green, an old singer,
Come
and
on,
he
baby.
got saved.
Now we're talking.
Yeah. He got saved as like a young adult, and he had no like knowledge of what the Bible was or anything. But he was on a spiritual journey, just searching for meaning in life. Once he found Jesus, once he found the Bible, he started reading it, and he's like looking around at Christians like, why aren't we doing what God told us to do? Why aren't we like actually listening to the Bible? Like for one example is the Bible says, true religion is like take in widows and orphans. So he eventually bought a whole block of houses so he could just have widows and orphans come in so he could take care of them. Like he just literally did what the Bible said to do. And that's what you see a lot in these other countries is they like read the Bible and obey it, actually believe it. Because there's this whole new perspective. It's new to them. And there aren't these um, I mean, okay, some routine and that type of thing is good in the church for sure, and like ritual, that type of thing. But a lot of it can just become we do this because it's what we do. Like, there's no reason to it. But for people who are new believers, when they find Jesus, everything is new and they have that fresh perspective. It's like a first love perspective, like in Revelation. And so they take that and run with it, and that's their life. Like, God becomes their life instead of just a Sunday thing. I'm used to this. This is what we do on Sunday, and then we live a normal life. Like, they live for God. Another reason is because, like, they'll be disowned. Like, people who get saved in Nepal, if they're from a Hindu family, then their family will disown them. So they're basically giving up their entire life and saying, Jesus is worth it. I'm going to live for Jesus. And so I might as well, like, live for Jesus.
Yep. I think it's a lot of it in America has become white noise. It's like, okay, church on Sunday, cool, like sick, that was awesome, and I think that's, I mean, church on Sunday is extremely important, no doubt. But if it doesn't become, if it gets too familiar, and Sunday ritual just becomes so familiar, then you're going to miss the value in the everyday Sunday. You're going to miss the value of the word being spoken and preaching. For like, and you've probably heard it said before, but the devil loves to use familiarity as a tactic to try to get into Christians. Oh, it's just another day reading your Bible. You read it yesterday, or it's okay if you miss a day. You read yesterday for an extra 10 minutes, or you don't really need to listen to worship music today. You just listened to a whole album yesterday. Like, just go listen to the radio or whatever. Like, when we get familiar with the things, that's when the devil loves to try to kind of come at us, because he's like, cool, we got them comfortable and safe. And safety, I don't want to be in a safety place with Jesus. I want to be like, let's keep pushing forward and charging forward. And so pastors kids out there, because you're listening to sermons and you're in church all the time, and you're probably in there right now listening to this with your parents or whatever, but like, don't get so comfortable with where you're at, and don't get so familiar with being a pastor's kid that you forget to fall in love with Jesus again. Because I mean, the three of us can attest to it. Like, go live this thing out. You want to be different? Yeah, go live this thing out.
There's a ministry, Micah, that your family has pioneered that has been mind-blowing for me and revolutionary around the country. I think that your dad is like the first and only pastor to be sued by Planned Parenthood. Crazy, crazy stuff. But when I first met your dad, I got to go speak at this ministry called TCAP, the Church at Planned Parenthood, out in Spokane. And it meant a lot to me. But then a couple years later, I had a daughter, and now it means even more to me. And I'm watching this standing at the gates of hell, trying to turn people the other direction. Like, I don't even know better words to describe this just awesomeness that's here. And yet there are a lot of people, even Christians, who are really disturbed by this different flavor of ministry that your family has brought to our attention. Um, how do you handle the controversy? Like, what's it really like in the Peters house dealing with all of these types of things? Like, because some people are like, oh man, Ken Peters, he just looks for the most controversial thing and then he jumps on it. But like, I know that's not true. You know that's not true. What's actually going on? Why is this a passion for you all?
Yeah, we take a lot of hate. Last time we did church at Planned Parenthood in Spokane, Washington, on the other side of the field, there's a guy just holding up a sign. It literally said, "Ken Peters, loser." And I was taking pictures of it, like, that's hilarious. I posted it on my Instagram close friend story because I was like, what the heck? That's so funny. But
It
people
was
literally hate him.
your brother-in-law, wasn't it? They had a falling out, and he was like, "Man,
No, it's just some guy who thought that it would be a good use of his time on a Tuesday night to go out and hold a sign that says Ken Peters loser for 2 hours. That's what he wanted to
amen."
do with his day that day. But yeah, we have a lot of people like that. Like a lot of people actually. Especially back in Washington State. Tennessee's more it's more safe, it's more chill here. People don't care as much. But when you're up in Washington State, like you'll get hate if you stand. And my dad stands. So my experience, there's a lot of like sometimes we go to church, there's protesters outside our church, like yelling at us, just yelling at our family. My dad for a little bit, he would get called every second. So basically he'd get a phone call, he'd hang up, then get another phone call instantly as soon as he hung up. He couldn't even use his phone because people who hated him just kept spamming him. And he'll get phone calls all the time like that where people just answer the phone and start screaming at him and stuff. It's weird. People take their time to do that. So I'm kind of used to it. There's a little bit of like little edgy danger and fear to it, especially during COVID where people were, really on edge that we were having church before a lot of the other churches were open. That brought a lot of hate as well. But just that type of stuff, I've never been afraid of it. I'm just kind of used to it. I think it's kind of cool. I get to live out the verse that says, like, if you follow me, people are going to hate you because people hate me. They're going to hate you too. So I get to see that and know, all right, we're following Jesus here. We're standing up for what's right, even though we're getting a lot of hate. It's pretty inspiring to me just to stand. Like, who cares? There's haters out there. I want to be hated for Jesus rather than hated for anything else. So I think the experience really built some grit just in my life personally. Not be a people pleaser, but to stand up for the truth. Like, there's no way I'm not going to stand up for the truth because I've seen, like, God bless that. God changed lives through it. And also seen, like, he's taking care of us. Like, we're chilling. I'm chilling.
He's chilling. I like it. That's good.
Come on.
Hey, talk about the loser, the guy with the loser sign. And then you got people that are like calling you because they've got no other life going on. Like, yeah, you're a loser.
You just have to say, bless their heart.
They
couldn't say that. They couldn't say that until they moved to Tennessee. But now that they're Southerners, it's free game. Just bless their heart.
Speaking of your heart, you're in a relationship right now, and you've got a girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah, I saw her on your Instagram. So how has it been trying to juggle a serious relationship, doing ministry, doing missions? How has all that, like, that's real life. Like, it's like those are real things. How have you been able to juggle those kind of things together, especially being in serious relationship and things like that?
Yeah, I'll be really vulnerable here and give you a quick story. We met at YWAM, so doing missions. Then I was going to Nepal and she was going to India. And I told her I liked her right before we left. And I said, hey, I think just to honor the season in your life, to be fully like zoned in to the work that God has for us, let's not talk at all for the next 3 months. Like, so no communication.
Shoo.
So that happened. We got back. She still liked me. I was praying the whole time, like, God, please. And she did. So I was like, yes. It was the happiest day. When I found out that she still liked me. And then we went on like a little date in Hawaii right when we got back. And I told her, okay, here's the deal. Before we even start a relationship, this is what I know God's called me to. I might have no money. We might go live in like the middle of Africa for the rest of our lives. And I just want to tell you, like, right now, before we start a relationship, like, that is a possibility. And I want you to pray about it and, like, think, like, is that a life I'm willing to live? Is that a life I'm excited to live? And I was really ready. Like, I think as somebody who wants to follow God with their life in an extraordinary way, to, like, because that's my commitment. I want to follow God wherever he says, wherever he tells me to go, I want to go. It's really important to be ready to accept a no. So I was praying too, like, God, all right, I want your will to be done. Like, if she says no, that's okay. I can still serve you. I really, 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 really wanted her to say yes, but I was, like, trying to prepare myself. So I told her that, and she said, you know what? Yeah, like, I am willing. So then we started dating a little bit later, and it was really exciting. But now I'm leaving for, like, 9 months to a year to the other side of the world, literally. And we've only been dating for 3 months right now. And that's, like, scary. We've had a lot of, like, random conversations, like emotion, fear, a lot of things that we have to battle. But it's cool because I trust God. I have faith. It's just going to build a lot of trust between each other, and just in God, and caring about the right things and good communication. It's going to build a lot. It's going to build a lot of strength in us. So I'm doing my best just to say, like, all right, God, take away the spirit of fear. Fill us both with faith. And if you're in this relationship, then there's nothing to worry about. And yeah, it'll be sad to not see each other for a very long time. But you're going to use me there, and you're going to use her here. And then hopefully we get married when I get back, and then we don't have to do this anymore. But it's a scary thing. There's been a lot of, like, really tough moments, like phone calls and just moments of lots of emotion. But every time we get through it, we get to the end. It brings us closer to God and closer to each other, builds just trust and a strength in our relationship that I'm really thankful for.
Absolutely. I love
and
how
y'all met at YWAM?
Yeah.
That's absolutely incredible.
Tell us about YWAM.
Can you tell us about YWAM? And also, I'm wondering, is it true that they won't let you graduate until you have found a spouse? Because I've heard that on Instagram, I think. And so,
Ring by Spring.
Tell us about YWAM.
Yeah, those YWAM meme pages are hilarious. I love seeing those. It's very, very exaggerated. There's actually, okay, I'll just give, like, YWAM general overview in case anybody doesn't know what that is first. I went 3 months for spiritual training. It's like a spiritual boot camp. Pretty much every day, learning from awesome speakers like Francis Chan, different people who are heroes, and they come in and just speak for a week. And then we worship God a lot. Like, we spend so much time at the feet of Jesus, in prayer and worship, and just really put our eyes on Jesus. And that does do a work in your mind. Just thinking about God that much is going to make you want to do things for God. And it gets you so excited to go give the gospel to people who have never heard it in other countries. So after the first 3 training months, then it's 3 months on the field, where they'll send you to a country. You don't actually get to pick, which is really cool. I got to pick my top 3. They might give you one of those, or they might just send you to a random country. And then you go with a group, and you just spend 3 months, like, in the trenches. Like, every day, you're just giving the gospel to people or evangelizing on the streets, going into villages. It's really crazy. It's really intense. There's no holding back there. They're not like, oh, poor baby, you need a break, you need a rest. Like, you are just running once you're on outreach. But it really, really, really is exciting. Like, you feel so excited for the next day. Like, all right, I get to tell more people about Jesus. I get to see their lives change today. This is the best day ever. So I loved it. I actually, at the end of it, was like, I really want every single one of my friends to do it, literally. Like, no matter who you are, no matter how strong you are in your faith, like, I think everybody should do it. So if you're considering getting into missions, if you want to follow God in that way, I think doing a YWAM discipleship training school is absolutely an awesome move. And they're not paying me to say this. It's just, I loved it that much. Like, I really want to endorse it. But stereotypes with dating specifically, you're actually not allowed to date or change your relationship status while you're at YWAM. And they honestly did not talk about relationships, like, a single time. There was one little optional meeting, like, right at the very end, with Andy Bird, and it was more about like once you're married. So they really don't push it, but there's definitely a lot of people who go there to try to find their person, and that's very evident. You can see, I mean, some people are there for Jesus. Some people are there like literally just because they want to find their missionary spouse. And hey, I say if you find a missionary spouse, that's cool. I mean, I low key kind of did that, and I'm really
Come
excited
on.
about it. So thank you, YWAM.
Dude, I went when I was in Bible college. I remember a friend of mine who, on the first date, this girl asked him what he wanted to be, and we were in Bible college, but there was also like a lot of other things, and he was wanting to move to a big town and do business and law school and different things like that. Not law school, but just business stuff. And so she was like, "I'm just really interested in someone who wants to be a youth pastor right now." You're just like, so like that's your make or break. And she's like, yeah, I'm like, that's just I'm like, oh my gosh, we're so hilarious over here.
Yeah, this is the menu that I'm choosing from. I'm really looking for something that is a youth pastor color with that's amazing. Micah, I want to affirm everything you just said about YWAM. When I was on campus just a few months ago, my room was situated in like this perfect like Bermuda Triangle where I had the prayer room on one side, the worship class was like right above me, and then the tent where the songwriters were working was right outside my window. And so it did not matter what time of the day it was, somebody was praising the Lord, and they seemed happy about it. And then I think the most impactful thing for me was watching how YWAM goes into these areas and equips the people to be self-sufficient, that they're carrying the gospel and they're carrying, farming solutions and economic helps and medicine on the YWAM ships. And even more than that, that they are translating God's word into every tribe, every nation, every single tongue and subdialect. And they believe they'll have the story of Jesus completed for every language, like within the next 3 years. That just absolutely blew my mind. And so, bro, we wanted to do something for you before we close out the episode. We want you to know that we're going to send some financial support your way to help you on this journey. I know that your church has equipped you quite a bit with your basic expenses, but we want you to have some, getting married money, whatever, or, some spending money on the field, whatever it is that you want to do with that. And then we're going to put your Cash App, your Venmo, and all of that in the show notes of this episode, and encourage everybody who's listening to shoot $5 your way or whatever, to support you as you take a 9-month journey away from the love of your life to go serve Jesus Christ, who you love above all. We're just so stinking proud of you, bro, that you're awesome.
Right.
Wow. Thank you guys so much. That's crazy. I wasn't expecting that. Thank you.
Absolutely, man.
Well,
we're gonna hook you up.
We have one more question, and then we're going to ask you to close out the episode, Micah. Last question that it's not in our notes, but you said something at the beginning of the episode. You said, my family did it right. My dad did it right. As far as you had a great growing up experience as a PK, what would you say are the top maybe 3 ingredients in that recipe for how to have a pastor's family that loves serving together?
I think about this a lot because I want to, for my kids, do the same thing. So I was like, what is it? Me and my sister talk about that actually. Like, why do we love God so much and like not want to even be like the world at all? Like, I have no interest in like drugs, even like pornography, like the way my dad built purity into me. I don't even know. It's just natural. Like, I want to please God with my life. I want to be pure. I love that. And I think we boiled it down to the reason. So yes, you have rules. You can be strict. We had a strict childhood for sure, but we knew the reason why. It wasn't just, okay, these are rules, and okay, I'm not going to give you the heart behind the rules. You're just going to follow these rules because I said so. But it was, this is why. we want to please God in this way. This is why we have this rule, and we're hoping that this rule will build a heart that loves God because of that. So, not rules without heart, but knowing the heart posture behind why we're doing what we're doing, having a reason. I think that's so key with parenting and the way I grew up, because I knew this isn't for no reason. Like, it made me love my dad because I knew he cared about me, and that's why I had these strict rules. And then one other thing that I would say is integrity behind the scenes, not just preaching on Sundays and then living a life that's different than what was preached,
That's
but
so
seeing
good.
that, okay, the way my dad acts on Sunday, what he says on Sunday, he lives out at
That's
home.
so good.
And I see it every day.
That's so good.
So when your home life is in flow with what you're preaching, you practice what you preach. I think that also just instilled in me, like, this is real. We're not just showfully serving God, but like we are. Like when nobody else sees,
Yeah.
like it's about pleasing God, not other people.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Look, I love it for all the PKs out there listening, and maybe you don't feel like you're in the situation where your parents are that way and it's caused you some strife or some headache, and you're just like, I can't wait till I'm 18 and I'm out of the situation of being a pastor's kid, and or I can move out or do whatever. Like, be encouraged that there are people who are on the other side of it, and you don't have to live under that same thing, but you can also set a new tone for your family. So don't let it stray away from wanting to be in ministry or wanting to be a Christian or do anything like that. Actually say, you know what, instead of doing it this way, I'm going to follow after God and what he wants at the same time, but I'm also going to change my generations of family and children after me so they do love God. So if you're in a place right now that you feel like this really just stinks, my parents are just putting on a show, you should see them when they get in the car. They're, doing all this crap at home and stuff. Like, well, then guess what? Maybe you can be the person to change that and to break that off your family one day. Thankfully, I got to grow up in a house similar to yours where it was awesome, and I loved every second of it, and integrity was of the most importance. But we have a lot of people that are listening right now that's not the case, and I know that because me and Jon get messages about this more often than we'd like. It's probably actually one of the things that we hear the most is that people struggle with that. And just be encouraged, man. Just if you're out there listening, go change it for your family one day. If you're 14 years old, go make a difference.
All right. It's your relationship with Jesus that's going to power your future. If you want to be a pastor, if you want to be a missionary, and the heart behind that is because maybe that will make your parents happy, or because that will make you look cool, or maybe that will attract the right kind of girl or guy. No. Like, stop, sit with God and say, okay, what gifts have you given me? What talents have you given me? What's the heart you put inside of me, that I can like serve you in the best way? Because it's not automatically gonna be being a pastor. I think a lot of pressure was placed on me to be a pastor, and I got to be a pastor for 3 months, which is a crazy story that I'm not gonna tell you, and I didn't like it at all. And that's not to say that I won't do that in the future. I might. I'm very open to it. But during that season of my life, like, that is not what I was called to do, for sure. It was not fitting. But what is always fitting is to spend time with Jesus. Like, you're gonna need money, okay? So get a good job and know Jesus. Get a good job and then prioritize spending time with him, spending time in the word, and then just go save souls. Like, that's ministry. There's certain parts of ministry that might be like discipling people. So yeah, you can disciple people as a pastor, but disciple people right now, like doing what you're doing. You don't have to have this, God has called me to be a pastor in Lexington, Kentucky, and I know that without a doubt. Like, if you're wondering, just like pray about, okay, how can I learn? How can I get the best training? So whether that's college or maybe like a 1-year gap program, kind of like YWAM or something of that sort. Because it's very good to have yourself poured into. But like, find ways, like, you can give the gospel to people right now. You can find a kid to disciple right now. I very much encourage you to do that. Like, if you're not discipling somebody right now, like, you don't have to be like this wise PhD guy to be a discipler. If you know more and are stronger in your faith, than maybe like an 11 or 12-year-old kid in your church or something like that. Then like on a weekly basis, take him to McDonald's, something like that. It'll mean the world to that kid, and he will have a positive association with growing in Christ. And you can do so much just by pouring into somebody. So that's what I'd say. Just spend time with Jesus right now. Make that your priority. Find somebody to disciple and make sure you're getting discipled by somebody. That way you're growing, and then just be patient, and God's going to show you what he has for you. And it doesn't have to be some crazy like pedestal position. It might just be being the awesomest carpenter ever and changing lives through your interactions with people and showing Jesus through the way you live, not just your platform. It's not about platform, it's about who you are and who you're pouring into, who you're affecting with your life.
Absolutely. Micah, you're awesome. Thank you for doing that. And there's a lot of ministry that can happen at McDonald's over a McFlurry. Come on, Lord. You know that's true. So go to McDonald's, get the McFlurry for them, hang out, share the Bible. It's awesome. But guys, thank you for listening. Again, we're right in the middle of season 3 right now of the PK podcast. And we'd love for you to follow our Instagram page, to go on our Facebook page, to just share these videos and things that we're doing, share the podcasts, help Micah out as well. Go to his Cash App, Venmo, whatever snail mail you can give to him and help him out there as well. But we hope you have a great rest of your day listening. And thanks so much for listening. Jon, you're awesome. You're a good co-host. Micah, again, thank you for being on here. And we love you guys, and we'll catch you on the next episode.